But the thief struck first. That means one thing. Bikini Bottom's favorite drink is in jeopardy. SpongeBob, being the ever-optimistic sponge that he is, doesn't let this bring him down. He just looks at this as another Tuesday. And you know what they say, when life gives you lemons, make jellyfish juice. And SpongeBob and Patrick are determined to do exactly that. However, Mr. Krabs has other plans for them. Because if there's one thing he loves more than money, it's his secret recipe for jellyfish juice. Sure, he only uses it to lure customers into his restaurant. But a Krabby Patty ain't gonna sell itself. That's why Mr. Krabs recruits SpongeBob and Patrick to become secret agents and retrieve his secret formula from the hands of the mean old jellyfish thieves. Now, we all know the Bikini Bottomites aren't exactly known for their bravery. So to help them out, Mr. Krabs equips them with these amazing spy gadgets, including a seahorse with cameras, which he probably stole from Sandy Cheeks, and these ridiculous glasses that also double as binoculars and communicators, which were probably stolen from a pair of real secret agents. With their high-tech gear and wits, SpongeBob and Patrick set off to find the culprit behind the missing jellyfish juice, not knowing where to start. Patrick suggests they go to the one place that never lets them down. It's the most popular attraction in all of Bikini Bottom. It's the place where everyone goes after a long day of stealing jellyfish juice. It's the Goo Lagoon. Part 2. Undercover at the Goo Lagoon. As soon as SpongeBob and Patrick arrive at the Goo Lagoon, they notice someone's already there waiting for them. Plankton, what are you doing here? Did you steal Mr. Krabs' secret formula? Are you working with the jellyfish thieves? Well, who would have thought it? Plankton confirms he did steal the formula, but claims he's just trying to protect it from Karen, who wants to use it to brainwash everyone in Bikini Bottom into becoming robots. Turns out, she went rogue and started her own evil organization called the Chum Bucket Army, SpongeBob and Patrick. Not wanting Bikini Bottom to become an army of emotionless robots, decide to team up with Plankton to stop Karen, their first order of business. Bust into the Chum Bucket Army headquarters, infiltrate the mainframe, and get the formula back. But how can two untrained civilians break into one of the most secure buildings in Bikini Bottom? They're going to need some disguises. Plankton takes them to the secret lab where he has been working on a new invention that will allow them to become invisible. But it's still in the prototype stage and has a few flaws. For example, Patrick can only turn green. Also, SpongeBob turns invisible for about 2 seconds before reverting back to his normal form. But they just have to make do with what they got, because they running out of time. Karen has activated the brainwashing machine and Bikini Bottom will be turned into robots in 1 hour. As soon as they're done changing, SpongeBob and Patrick race out of the Chum Bucket and toward the nearest Chum Bucket Army checkpoint. With their new invisibility devices equipped, they sneak past the first guard. But while trying to keep their cover, they accidentally bump into each other and alert the entire military force. They may have failed their first mission, but SpongeBob and Patrick aren't giving up just yet. With the help of Plankton, they come up with a new strategy. Distract the guards and get inside the Chum Bucket Army base, while everyone's attention is on them. But the question is, who's going to distract them? Patrick, or Swell? Of course, it's going to be both of them, because why choose one when you can have double the stupidity? While disguised as a giant clam, SpongeBob and Patrick put on one heck of a show. They crash cars, cause mayhem, and eat a bunch of the chum. That was supposed to be for the Chum Bucket Army soldiers. And as everyone's attention is diverted to the chaos outside, the The two secret agents slip inside and make their way to the mainframe. However, little do they know, someone's already there ahead of them. "Gary, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be in the computer." Gary meows sadly as SpongeBob realizes what he did. Gary was just trying to help. But now he has glitched inside the system, and the only way to save him is by restarting the whole thing. And that will also destroy the brainwashing program and free Bikini Bottom from Karen's control. But it's too late. Karen has already completed the upload, and Bikini Bottom's fate is sealed. The brainwashing sequence has begun. Just then, SpongeBob notices something strange. This isn't Karen's life. This is Plankton's life. Was Plankton behind this all along? Of course he was. Why do you think he wanted to be friends with you in the first place? SpongeBob and Patrick try to escape. But it's too late. The Chum Bucket Army soldiers are everywhere. Plankton reveals his plan to take over Bikini Bottom. Now that he has Karen's army of robots under his command, nothing can stop him from taking over the world. Well, except maybe a giant robotic vacuum cleaner. Plankton opens fire with his ray gun, but SpongeBob and Patrick dodge out of the way. And instead of Plankton, they hit the power supply. And with the power supply destroyed, the Chum Bucket Army base begins to shut down. Plankton tries to make a run for it, but SpongeBob scoops him up in his hand. And now that Plankton's been apprehended, SpongeBob can finally turn his attention to the real mastermind behind the Chum Bucket Army, Karen. She reveals that she created the Chum Bucket Army to take revenge on SpongeBob for destroying her old Chum Bucket. And now that he's defeated her new one, she vows to make him pay. But before she can do anything, the entire building starts to collapse. SpongeBob and Patrick make a run for it, narrowly escaping with their lives. Back at the restaurant, Mr. Krabs is so happy to have his secret formula back that he gives SpongeBob and Patrick a raise. Plus, he installed those spy gadgets on Gary, who totally wasn't listening the whole time. And that's all for now. If you want to see more of SpongeBob and Patrick's crazy adventures, make sure to subscribe for more updates. Until next time, see ya. Are you ready for an out-of-this-world adventure?
Well, get ready.
Because we're launching SpongeBob out into space.
That's right.
Today we're talking about the second episode of the SpongeBob spin-off series. The Adventures of SpongeBob SquarePants, which is called Krabby Patty in Space. Let's dive right in. After getting rejected by the lovely Pearl for the 100th time, Plankton decides that he just needs to become rich and famous enough that she will finally take notice of him. He believes that if he can just get his hands on the Krabby Patty formula and use it to make 1,000,000 patties, then he will become so wealthy that Pearl will finally go out with him. But, as we all know, the Krabby Patty formula is top secret, and Mr. Krabs guards it with his life. So what does Plankton do? Well, he makes a robotic suit of armor, sneaks into the restaurant, and tries to steal the formula while Mr. Krabs is on vacation. However, before he can make it out of the restaurant with the briefcase containing the formula, Mr. Krabs returns early from his vacation, catches Plankton, and sends him flying into the street with a powerful karate kick. As Plankton lays there on the street nursing his wounds, he thinks about how he is too weak to carry out his plan on his own, and decides that he needs some help. Looking up, he notices that SpongeBob is passing by and gets an idea. Using his computer skills, Plankton hacks into the local TV station and broadcasts a fake emergency alert that says that an asteroid is going to crash into Bikini Bottom in 24 hours. This causes everyone in town to panic, except for SpongeBob, who wants to be helpful but doesn't know what to do. Suddenly, Plankton appears on the screen and tells SpongeBob that he has the power to save everyone Mr. Krabs. He will use his computer skills to change the trajectory of the asteroid and save Bikini Bottom. SpongeBob hesitates at first, but when he thinks about how many lives are at stake, he agrees to help. So Plankton leads him inside the Krusty Krab, where they find Mr. Krabs counting his money. SpongeBob asks him if he could please have the briefcase for safekeeping. But Mr. Krabs refuses until SpongeBob reminds him about the asteroids. After hearing this, Mr. Krabs becomes scared and gives SpongeBob the briefcase without putting up a fight. Once outside, Plankton immediately takes off with the briefcase, and SpongeBob chases after him until first. Plankton seems to have gotten away, but SpongeBob eventually finds him hiding in the bushes near a rocket ship. SpongeBob asks him why he would destroy Bikini Bottom, when Plankton was the one who told him that there was an asteroid. When they arrive, SpongeBob and Plankton float out of the rocket ship and onto the surface of the moon. As they walk around, they start to realize that no one lives on the moon. Plankton is furious and demands that SpongeBob hand over the briefcase so that he can blast it back to Earth. SpongeBob refuses and says that they need to work together if they want to get home. Plankton reluctantly agrees, but the two quickly get distracted when they see a group of aliens cooking a giant burger on a grill. The two sneak over to the grill and eat several of the aliens' burgers, then ask them for a ride home. The aliens agree, but only if SpongeBob and Plankton can help them cook their giant burger. They head inside the aliens' tent to look for ingredients, but soon realize that they're missing an important ingredient: pickles. SpongeBob volunteers to go get some, but when he opens the refrigerator, he sees that the only pickles left are neon green. Not wanting to ruin the burger, SpongeBob decides to use his nose to smell out some real pickles. As he walks outside, Plankton sneaks into the refrigerator and hides inside it. When SpongeBob isn't looking, he grabs the neon green pickles and runs outside. The two reunite and continue their search for a ride home, but soon run out of food and water. Plankton tells SpongeBob that if they keep searching, they might be able to find someone who will help them. And luckily, they don't have to wait long. Soon after, they come across a woman named Sandy Cheeks in a spacesuit who offers them water and food, then invites them to stay at her house. While they're eating, Sandy explains that she lives in an underwater dome on the moon where she grows plants and vegetables. She says that she'd love to have SpongeBob and Plankton stay for dinner, but they need to leave soon if they want to catch the next rocket back to Earth. As soon as the sun goes down, SpongeBob and Plankton prepare to say goodbye to Sandy. But suddenly, the lights go up and the two get locked inside the dome. In the dark, Plankton tries to find a way out, while SpongeBob looks for the light switch. Suddenly, a huge worm-like creature attacks them. The two run away and hide in the control room. Plankton tells SpongeBob that they need to find a way to turn the lights back on, so that they can escape the creature. Luckily, SpongeBob spots a control panel nearby, and is able to bring light back into the dome. Finally, the two get to say goodbye to Sandy, and board the rocket ship. Back on Earth, SpongeBob and Plankton are greeted as heroes for saving the town. And although Plankton still wants the Krabby Patty formula, he admits that he couldn't have done it without SpongeBob's help. The two shake hands and become friends, which makes me so happy. And that's the end of the second episode of The Adventures of SpongeBob SquarePants. What did you think? Was it fun? Or was it silly? Or was it both? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't already. We've got tons of other videos here on this channel that I know you'll enjoy, including more SpongeBob videos, so click around and have fun. But please remember to come back soon because we make new videos every single day. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. SpongeBob is a certified drama llama. When he unintentionally steals the spotlight from Squidward at his own talent show, Squidward explodes. But what if SpongeBob wasn't trying to steal the spotlight? What if he just wanted to help his friend? Let's find out. In our next SpongeBob video, Squidward finally gets his moment in the sun when he organizes the first ever Squidward talent show. He invites everyone in Bikini Bottom to come and watch him be the center of attention for once. And he even went so far as to make a pretty spectacular poster to hang up around town, advertising the event. The only problem was that someone kept ruining it. It started with Patrick putting a giant rock in front of it. Then SpongeBob came along and thought it would be fun to use it as a dry erase board to practice his multiplication tables. By the time Squidward got it back, all the marker had bled through the poster, and it looked like an abstract piece of art. Dejected, Squidward put up the ruined poster anyway and headed backstage to await his big debut. The show was going great until disaster struck. Pearl burst through the curtains and onto the stage. She excitedly announced to the audience that she had some very exciting news to share. But she did untap a microphone, and her voice echoed off the walls and made everyone think she was being attacked by a whale. After she finally found the mic, she told them that she would be hosting the first ever boating school fashion show. All the land animals were invited, which meant that she needed everyone to vacate the premises as soon as possible. Squidward was pretty upset that his big night was being cut short. But he knew he couldn't compete with Pearl's popularity. So he resigned himself to spending the rest of his evening alone in his house. But this wasn't the end of his bad luck. As he opened his door, he slipped and fell right into his own dented spatula. It was too much for him to bear. He threw the spatula away and ran out of his house to clear his head. On his way, he bumped into SpongeBob, who asked him how the show was going. Squidward decided not to burden his naive friend with the stress he was feeling, so he lied and said everything was going well. Then he started walking again, but he could hear SpongeBob talking about how he was going to be the star of the show, even though Squidward had explicitly told him beforehand that he wasn't in the lineup. As SpongeBob approached the stage, Squidward hid behind the curtain to see what he was going to do. Everyone was in for a night they'd never forget. SpongeBob was going to perform the world's most spectacular talent, the Jellyfish Migration. To everyone's surprise, it was actually really good. SpongeBob had even built a model reef with lights and moving parts that mimicked the underwater ecosystem. He had clearly spent a lot of time practicing this, and it showed. By the end of his performance, everyone was on their feet, giving SpongeBob a standing ovation. Squidward was shocked by his friend's dedication, and it occurred to him that maybe SpongeBob deserved to be the star. However, he quickly shook off the thought. There was no way he would let SpongeBob take the spotlight. This was supposed to be his night. Just then, SpongeBob noticed Squidward peeking from behind the curtain. He waved at him to get his attention and shouted, "See, Squidward, I told ya I was gonna be the star." Squidward felt a surge of anger, and the only thing that stood between him and SpongeBob was a flimsy velvet curtain. As soon as the applause died down, Squidward ripped open the curtain and jumped out onto the stage. He aggressively thanked SpongeBob for his performance and told him that it was now his turn to shine. He cleared his throat and got ready to blow everyone away with his clarinet solo. Unfortunately, he was so nervous about performing in front of such a large crowd that he forgot to switch the amplifier from the echo setting. When he played the first notes, it sounded like there were 1,000 Squidwards on stage, playing 1,000 different notes. It was cacophonous. People started to leave because they couldn't take the noise anymore. Squidward panicked and tried to turn the amp down, but it didn't do anything. He was so embarrassed. He threw the clarinet away and stormed off the stage. His whole life was a lie. He was just a cashier at the Krusty Krab, a guy who lived in a pineapple, a guy who had a pet rock. Was there anything special about him at all? He walked past SpongeBob on the way out, and his eyes widened in horror when he saw that his friend was crying. SpongeBob asked him what he'd done, and Squidward just ran away. He needed some time to cool off before he did something he'd regret. When Squidward got home, he slumped down on his couch and buried his face in a bag of seaweed snacks. That's when he heard a knock at the door. He peeked through the window and saw that it was SpongeBob and Patrick. Before he could stop himself, he opened the door and yelled at them to leave him alone. They both walked in without being invited. Patrick sat on his couch, and SpongeBob asked him why he was sad. Squidward snapped and started yelling at SpongeBob for stealing his spotlight. But SpongeBob didn't deserve any of it. He had put so much work into his jellyfish migration that Squidward should have been proud of him. Instead, he had humiliated his friend in front of everyone in Bikini Bottom. Squidward stopped yelling and looked down at his feet. SpongeBob took this moment to explain to Squidward that he had nothing to do with Pearl crashing the show. Apparently, she had seen him rehearsing earlier and wanted to borrow the set to use in her own production. She didn't mean to hurt his feelings, and he shouldn't blame SpongeBob for her actions. Feeling guilty, Squidward apologized to SpongeBob for yelling at him and explained that he just was not used to sharing this spotlight. Ever since he moved to Bikini Bottom, he had always been the main character in his life. He was the star of Squid on the half shell. He had his own house and his own job. Sure, he might not be the best cashier at the Krusty Krab, but he was still appreciated by Mr. Krabs. Well, sometimes. All of this changed after SpongeBob had been experienced at first. Squidward liked having someone else around. It was nice to have someone to talk to besides Gary. But SpongeBob was a little too enthusiastic for Squidward's liking. He was always interrupting his TV shows, bugging him to go jellyfishing, or inviting himself over to play the ukulele. Squidward didn't mind at first, but eventually it became too much. He wanted his own space, but every time he asked SpongeBob to give him some alone time, SpongeBob would get upset and accuse Squidward of being a party pooper. This is why Squidward was so excited when he organized the talent show. Finally, he would be the main character. Again, no one else would be able to take the spotlight away from him. At least, that's what he thought. Now that he had all of this extra free time, Squidward decided to start writing music again. In the past, he used to love playing the clarinet and writing songs, but he quit when he realized that no one was listening. SpongeBob offered to be his first listener, but Squidward told him he needed some time alone. To his surprise, SpongeBob actually respected his wishes. For the first time in forever, Squidward had peace and quiet. He wrote dozens of songs during this period, and it brought him more joy than he had ever experienced before. He couldn't wait to share his new music with Bikini Bottom. He had a feeling his fans would love it. And now, after seeing SpongeBob perform and hearing his side of the story, Squidward understood that he didn't need to keep everything to himself. He could share his spotlight with others, and they could all shine together. After all, friendship is all about compromises. We hope you enjoyed this episode of If you did, don't forget to leave us a like and subscribe for more content. stay tuned. Thanks for watching. See you later. What's going on, guys? I'm here to talk about the third episode of the fourth season of SpongeBob, which is, of course, Patrick, the Time Traveler. This one has everything. We got time travel. We got a baby Mr. Krabs. We got like a glimpse at what could be if SpongeBob ever became a robot. It's got everything. There's even like a prehistoric Squidward in this one. Oh my god. Okay, it's a good time. Let's get into it. So the episode begins with SpongeBob and Patrick just chilling out, staring off into the distance, thinking about their lives. They came to be friends, etc. And Patrick spots something floating past them, and he thinks it might be a jellyfish, so he goes chasing after it. But it turns out to be not a jellyfish, but a very strange looking conch shell to Patrick. Puts the conch to his ear, and hears voices from the house. He hears this voice say, "The moon in the east is a bad sign." And then another voice says, "You said it, didn't you? And then, we've gotta get to work building that volcano." And then Patrick hears a familiar voice from the future say, "SpongeBob, me, boy, you there." And then Patrick hits the ground and breaks the conch shell. And that's when SpongeBob and Patrick start getting these flashbacks of events that have already happened. And then SpongeBob gets an idea and grabs his trusty frying pan, which can now fly for some reason. And he and Patrick start hitting the fragments of the conch shell to try to repair it. And in doing so, they actually open up a portal into the past and a portal into the future. So, they went back to like prehistoric times and the future all in one episode. This show was crazy back then. Like, it's just like, boom, boom, they go to the past. Boom, they go to the future. And yeah, in the past, they meet baby Mr. Krabs, who was pretty much the exact same as Mr. Krabs, except that he was tiny and cute. He wasn't a millionaire yet. He still had to work. And also, he wanted to make a Krabby Patty, but he didn't know how. So, SpongeBob and Patrick help him out. They teach him how to cook. They get the restaurant started. And then, Mr. Krabs gets really famous, because apparently he had the original recipe all along, and everyone loved it. So, thanks SpongeBob. Started a fast food empire. Cool, glad I could help then. They move on to the future, where SpongeBob is a robot, and he does unseem too happy about it. It looks like he used to be organic, and he misses being organic. Robot SpongeBob has a wife named Esposa, who is presumably a robot as well. And she's very, very mean. And she thinks that SpongeBob has not been doing his job correctly, and that he needs to be more efficient. She doesn't like him wasting water or electricity, or whatever. And she thinks he should probably kill himself because it would save on electricity. So, yeah, that's gonna be a problem. But, SpongeBob tries to fix the conch shell to go back home. But he accidentally breaks it instead, and causes the entire tank of Bikini Bottom to be sucked into the time vortex and into outer space. So, SpongeBob and Patrick. Oh no, they have to stop the vortex. They do this by playing the Jellyfish song while holding hands. Why? I don't know. Jellyfish music brings people together, I guess. So, SpongeBob and Patrick go off into the distance, hand in hand, and all the people of Bikini Bottom come back home. But, Squidward kinda gets left behind. And when they return to his house, they find out that he is gone, and in his place is like a stone statue episode ends. I love this episode, I think it's cool. It's really funny. The animation's good. Everything's great. There's lots of fun stuff to talk about. Like, first of all, baby Mr. Krabs is just as greedy as adult Mr. Krabs. When SpongeBob tells Mr. Krabs that he can start a restaurant with the secret formula, he says, "Well, if you boys want to put in all the work, I guess I can take a small percentage of your profits and spend the rest of my days counting my money." That was funny. Also, I love the fact that SpongeBob is a robot and he has a wife named Bot S. It's like a play on the word bossa. Like he gossips about things all day. It's like a little SpongeBob pun. I thought that was funny. Also, the fact that Squidward is turned into a statue is pretty messed up. It's like, are we supposed to just ignore that? They found a literal stone version of him sitting in his house. Nobody cares. It's like, that's weird. That's kinda dark, too. Yeah. But anyways, classic episode. It's like a really good example of what made the Nickelodeon era of SpongeBob so special. Like the fact that they brought in real-world elements like computers and cell phones and TVs and stuff like that. And they mixed them with magic and fantasy and like time travel. I just think that's cool. It's really creative. You know, you never really see stuff like that on kids' shows anymore. Like today, they'd be like, "Oh, you can't use a computer. Computers are scary." But back in the early 2000s, they were like, "Computers are cool. Technology is awesome. Cell phones are awesome." I miss that. I miss that time. Things were simpler. SpongeBob was better. Life was better. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you're new here, subscribe. It's totally free. And you can always change your mind later. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you next time. Bye. Welcome back to the channel. It's me. And today we're going to talk about SpongeBob. We're talking about episode 5, SpongeBob Boots, the Mega Bubbles. This is an amazing adventure with lots of crazy things happening at an epic scale. But at its heart, this is a fun story about responsibility, a lesson we can all use from time to time. Let's get started. Before we jump into the nitty-gritty details, I need you to like this video. If you love SpongeBob's also, stick around until the end, because I have a great way for you to make some extra cash and support the channel. So hit subscribe and let's do this. So the episode starts with our friend SpongeBob making some bubbles. It looks like your average day in Bikini Bottom. He's blowing bubbles in his pineapple car, and everything seems to be going well. That is, until one bubble gets really, really big. This was not part of the plan. But instead of panicking, SpongeBob thinks quickly and blows more bubbles to catch the big one. Well, it works pretty well, until he runs out of breath, and the massive bubble floats away into the ocean depths. Wow. Just wow. What an unexpected turn of events. But what happens next is just mind-blowing. The bubble drifts through the water and eventually lands on the sandy floor, where it begins to grow. Like really, really grow. And when it pops, it creates the town rests on his shoulders and the pressure is on. To make matters worse, Plankton is up to his usual mischief. He sees the destruction, and instead of helping, he decides to take advantage of the situation. He sends in the robot army to steal the Krabby Patty secret formula. Talk about bad timing. SpongeBob can't let Plankton get away with this, but he also can't focus on that right now. He has to stop the bubble menace. With the town in ruins and Plankton is desperate. But then he remembers something. He has a secret weapon, the one thing that can stop these bubble monsters. His imagination. SpongeBob is known for his wacky ideas and outlandish schemes. But this time, it's different. He needs to use his imagination to save the town. The question is, what does he come up with? How does he defeat an army of giant bubble monsters? Well, as always, SpongeBob doesn't let us down. He dives into his mind and comes up with a brilliant idea. A solution so simple, yet so effective. All he needs is some bubbles. Yep, you heard that right. Bubbles. It's hard to believe, but SpongeBob's plan actually works. He creates a massive bubble wand and starts blowing bubbles. Not just any bubbles though. These are special bubbles. They're designed to pop the bubble monsters and bring an end to their reign of terror. It's like a bubble battle, except this is no laughing matter. Fate of Bikini Bottom hangs in the balance. The bubble monsters charge forward, stomping and roaring. But SpongeBob is ready. He pops one bubble after another, taking out the monsters two by two. It's an epic showdown. The screen is filled with flying bubbles and crashing monsters. It's fast, it's furious, and it's incredibly entertaining. And finally, with one last mighty power, SpongeBob defeats the biggest bubble monster of them all. It's over. The bubble armor is no more, and Bikini Bottom is safe. Once again, our hero has saved the world. In the end, SpongeBob learns an important lesson about responsibility. He realizes that even the smallest of actions can have great consequences. But he also learns that with great responsibility comes great power. He has the power to use his imagination to make the world a better place. That's a powerful lesson for us all. As the townspeople celebrate their victory, SpongeBob looks out over the horizon. He knows that this is just the beginning of a new adventure. There are more challenges ahead. But he's ready. He's got his friends, his imagination, and his determination. Together, they can face anything. So what do you think of the episode?
You like?
The action, the humor, the life lessons. Let me know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like this video if you love SpongeBob's. And if you want to watch another one of my videos, the platform suggests these. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. What's going on, everyone? And welcome back to another episode of SpongeBob. I'm your host. And today, we're going to be looking at episode 57 of season 4. Gary Goes Missing for the Patrick Star Show. Let's get into it. The episode starts off with SpongeBob waking up in his pineapple home and heading over to the kitchen to look for Gary. But much to his dismay, he can't find him anywhere. Concerned, SpongeBob goes around town asking everyone if they've seen his snail pet, but no one has. Gary is nowhere to be found. Then SpongeBob goes to Sandy's house and asks her for help in finding Gary. She agrees, and together, they go around Bikini Bottom searching for Gary. The whole vibe of the episode feels like a deep-sea detective story with these two as our leads. SpongeBob and Sandy split up to search different parts of Bikini Bottom, though they promise to meet back at the pineapple if they find anything. At the first spot they check, they find a pair of Gary's footprints leading them to an old minecart. Riding this, they head down the tunnel only for it to lead them to a dead end. They continue searching and find some more footprints, leading them to a tree stump, where they hear some noises coming from inside. As SpongeBob and Sandy attempt to figure out how to open the stump, Squidward comes by, and after hearing about Gary's disappearance, he offers his services as a professional at locating missing objects. After he finds some more footprints uses his clarinet to play a tune, which attracts the attention of a group of ants who are hiding in the sky. They tell SpongeBob and the gang that they saw Gary enter the jellyfish fields early that morning. So off they go again, following more footprints all the way to the field. There they find Gary S. empty snail shell and a note written in what appears to be Gary's handwriting, saying that he left to go on vacation and will be back soon. SpongeBob is deeply disappointed that Gary will leave without telling him, and decides he does want to find Gary. Sandy, however, isn't so sure and tells SpongeBob she wants to do one more search. Checking the last place Gary was seen, his own backyard. SpongeBob reluctantly agrees, and the two friends split up again to check behind the bushes and under the rocks. Soon enough, Sandy finds Gary hiding under a rock, and he quickly runs away when she gets too close. A short chase ensues, where Sandy manages to corner Gary, but he sprays her with ink, confusing her and escaping once again. As Sandy calls out for Gary, SpongeBob comes over and sees her covered in ink. He then notices something strange on the ground, a trail of small pebbles seemingly placed in a line. Noticing that the pebbles spell out the word help, SpongeBob realizes that Gary isn't trying to escape, is trying to show her something. Following the path, they arrive at the front of SpongeBob's pineapple and notice a new rock monolith built right in front of it. SpongeBob immediately panics, thinking that he's made an enemy and that this is some sort of declaration of war. But Sandy assures him that she'll protect him, and together they use their combined strength to push the monolith away. It opens up, revealing a staircase leading down into the ground. SpongeBob and Sandy hold hands as they walk down together into the darkness. At the bottom, they find Gary waiting for them, along with a group of snails who introduce themselves as Gary's family. Gary explains that he went missing because he was trying to sneak out to visit his family, who had arrived in town. The reason why he left the note was to prevent SpongeBob from following him and getting hurt. SpongeBob, however, is furious that Gary would go behind his back and try to sneak out. But upon seeing how upset Gary is, SpongeBob's anger fades away and is replaced with determination to make Gary happy. He tells Gary that from now on, whenever he wants to go visit his family, SpongeBob will take him, and he won't have to sneak out ever again. Gary is overjoyed and hugs SpongeBob, thanking him for being such a good friend and pet owners. The three then take a family photo together before heading back up to the surface. As SpongeBob looks over the photos of him and Gary, he can't help but notice that Gary seems very far away in the picture. Noting that Gary is always distant and mysterious, SpongeBob resolves to get closer to his pet so they can become best friends forever. And just like that, the episode ends. So this is definitely one of my favorite episodes in the series, mainly due to the unique plotline focusing on SpongeBob and Gary's relationship. Usually, the episodes revolve around SpongeBob's job or his friend Patrick, so this was a nice change of pace. Another aspect I really enjoyed was the mystery surrounding Gary's disappearance. For most of the episode, we don't know why he left or where he went, leaving us to believe he might have been taken or simply abandoned SpongeBob, which would have been devastating. Fortunately, neither of those were true, and it was actually quite the opposite. Though there were some aspects of the episode that didn't sit right with me. When SpongeBob found the note saying Gary left for vacation, I could untell, but feel like the writers missed a golden opportunity to have SpongeBob be a little more understanding and compassionate towards Gary. Remember, Gary is a snail. He doesn't understand human language or social cues. The idea of him being able to write, read and understand the concept of vacation seems a bit too advanced for someone. who spends most of his time simply eating and sleeping. I think SpongeBob could have reacted in a few other ways when reading the notes, such as genuinely believing Gary could go on vacation without him, resulting in SpongeBob trying to do the same. Or maybe SpongeBob could have felt betrayed and angry, leading to a humorous sequence of him trying to search for Gary, despite the note. Instead, the scene played out fairly straightforward and resulted in SpongeBob giving up on finding Gary, which was honestly a little disappointing to see. However, the rest of the episode did make up for it, with a surprising plot twist and some great character moments between SpongeBob and Sandy. Seeing them work together to find Gary felt like a great callback to their first team up in the episode Tea at the Tree Dome, except this time their friendship felt more fleshed out and earned. This episode also gave us a new side of Squidward, showing him to be more caring and helpful than usual. It's not often that we see Squidward offer his assistance to others, so it was nice to see him be more open to helping out his friends. Though it was still funny to see him get annoyed when his services weren't required. Overall, Gary Goes Missing is a great episode with an interesting plot, unique characters, and plenty of humor to keep audiences of all ages entertained. Gary is definitely a fan favorite, and seeing an entire episode dedicated to him was a treat. The plot was well-paced and executed with some great twists and turns, keeping us guessing until the very end. And the themes of loyalty and love for pets are universal and relatable, making it easy for audiences to connect with the characters and root for them. So what do you think? Is Gary Goes Missing your favorite episode of If not, which episode takes the top spot? Comment down below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow for more SpongeBob content. I'll catch you later. You ever wonder what it'd be like if your favorite childhood cartoon characters got all grown up? What would they look like? How would they act? Well, in this series, we'll be taking a lighthearted look at what would happen if iconic animated characters were written as if they were real people with real problems. Our first story today features everyone's favorite sidekick, SpongeBob SquarePants, and his nemesis, the evil genius Plankton. We pick up our story with Plankton stalking David Ross' crew. He is deep in thought. You see, for years, Plankton has tried to steal the Krabby Patty secret formula from Mr. Krabs, but he's been unsuccessful. And now his archenemy SpongeBob is getting a promotion. Yes, SpongeBob is going to become the manager of the Krusty Krab. SpongeBob is excited about the position, and even more excited to tell Patrick. Plankton, however, is not happy because he believes that SpongeBob will only get the position because he is friends with Mr. Krabs, and not because he deserves it. So Plankton does what any reasonable person would do. He decides to create a robot army to overthrow the Krusty Krab staff and take over the restaurant himself. First up, he creates a mecha suit that looks just like Then he builds a Krabby Patty laser cannon, which fires a net so strong that it instantly freezes Mr. Krabs into a giant ice cube. Next, Plankton takes the form of a giant robotic lobster and battles Sandy Cheeks, who was frozen solid before she could transform into her giant robotic squirrel form. It looked like Plankton would win until SpongeBob arrived. SpongeBob had no idea that Plankton was behind the attack. He just saw a bunch of his friends being frozen, and he started punching the robotic lobster. This caused Plankton to flee. Back at the chum bucket, Plankton revealed to SpongeBob that he was behind the attack, and that SpongeBob's promotion was an inconvenience to him. And so Plankton forced SpongeBob to watch as he froze Squidward. Just then, Sandy appeared and explained to SpongeBob that he needed to listen to Plankton if he wanted Squidward to live. And so, SpongeBob agreed to listen to whatever Plankton wanted, which just happened to be giving him the formula. But as Plankton reached out to grab the formula, Sandy knocked him into a vat of chums. At that moment, SpongeBob realized that Plankton had betrayed. And while he was sad that he fell for the trick, he was even sadder that he had hurt his friends. But there was nothing he could do except hit the power button on his new miniature suit, which transformed him into the mighty Robo-Bob used his super strength to lift the robotic arms off the new suit, and used his heat vision to melt the ice holding Mr. Krabs and Squidward. Then he flew outside where he found Plankton piloting the giant robotic lobster Bob pushed the lobster, causing Plankton to eject, and revealing that there was actually a weak spot on the lobster's abdomen. Bob fired his freezing breath at the weak spot, causing the lobster to explode. As Plankton was drifting away in his escape attempt, Bob gave him one last warning, saying that he would destroy him if he ever attacked him again. Plankton promised that he would never attack again. However, after escaping, he made a vow to himself that he would find a way to defeat SpongeBob and become rich and powerful. Never know exactly how good of a manager SpongeBob would have been, or how much money Krabs would have made if Plankton had attacked the restaurant. But we do know that SpongeBob is a natural leader, and he would have done a good job. Plus, if he had managed to keep the restaurant open during the attack, they probably would have made even more money, since people love a good comeback story. SpongeBob is celebrating his victory with his friends, and reminiscing about the time that he fought a giant chicken wing. The end. Hey there folks! Thanks for watching today's story about SpongeBob and Plankton. What did you think? Which character is your favorite? Let us know in the comments section below. Also, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any new stories. And be sure to check out our other stories in this series. We've got a great episode featuring Sonic the Hedgehog and Tails. Oh, and hey, if you want us to make more of these videos, just let us know. Until next time, stay awesome, stay educated, and stay creative. Signing out.